Welcome to MovieFilm. It's episode 340. My name is Zachy Assad. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
Well, it's going. I was going to say I've had a busy week, but I think you might have me beat in the busyness quotient.
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean you didn't have a busy week, but yeah, I started a gig this week, and it has been a lot of hours. And actually, it's something that I did want to mention at the top of the episode because you and I have had kind of a busy past several weeks. And that has meant us recording at more odd hours than usual and editing a little bit later and posting maybe a day or two later than I like to deliver. Well, I know you feel the same way. And so I just wanted to say, up top that I got a temporary gig that's going to be going for the next couple weeks. And the hours are pretty intense. And Zachy has been incredible this week. You know, super flexible, trying to find whatever windows, or adjust to whatever windows I can find so we can record, and even, recording in pieces, whatever necessary to make sure that we continue to deliver the show. Even if it's a day late, at least we're going to deliver each week. And so I really appreciate you being so accommodating. And I just want to say I appreciate, the listeners understanding out there for the next couple of weeks if the show comes a little bit later than we would like, but it will be delivered. So thank you for that.
Hey, it's all good. This week's scheduling has been a challenge. It's been like, hey, how about this? How about and you'll be like, well, I know we were gonna record tomorrow, but this came up, and then it's like you cut to me on my phone as I've got like 50 curse words, and then I'm just like backspace. Okay, sure.
Well, it's literally. Unfortunately, I can't talk about what it is. I will be able to eventually, but I'm out the door about 8 a.m. I get home after 10 p.m., which is, I'm brain dead at that point. And then, I would never ask Zachy to record past 10 p.m. And then even this weekend, we had something sort of set up, and then it turns out I have to work this weekend. So
hey, you know what? Them donuts ain't gonna make themselves. Y'all want to be entertained? This is the work that goes into it. Men like Brian sacrifice so that you can hit play on your service of your choice.
Yeah, or I was thinking your phone while you're sitting on your toilet,
or that too. It's men like Brian who are out there sacrificing. So you show him some goddamn respect. I got you, Brian.
Thanks, Zachy.
Yeah. Now I know for the past week, one thing people have been reaching out to us en masse about is tell us more about Brian's tooth. So you do that, Brian. You do that.
The world demanded it. And you know what? Actually, a lot of people did kind of reach out and make checking in and also making humorous comments.
They're either joking or pissed. I can't tell.
I know, it's the same. A lot of, and that's the tooth kind of jokes being made.
People like, boy, I sure did love hearing about Brian's tooth, which I'd like to take that in the spirit that it's just the words themselves mean, but I don't know what tone to read that in.
Actually, yeah, we were just talking off mic, and we were both like, yeah, I'm not sure how to read some of these comments. I think there's concern there. But yes, just a real quick, this will not be as long as the first setup, but oh man, dude, the tooth trials continued basically. And it didn't help that I started this new gig on Monday, and the only time I could see this new dentist was Monday morning. So I already felt bad that I was going to be showing up late to my first day of work, and I was still in a lot of pain. So had to go see this dentist so I could get a referral, so I could get a root canal. Won't even get into it, but it was actually very complicated and frustrating, and ended up with me on the phone with my health insurance at this new dentist's office for like 30 minutes. And anyway, got the referral. But the first day of work, I'm meeting all these new people, and I am just, my teeth are killing me. And I'm trying to take Advil and Tylenol and all these sorts of things. And I'm like, hello, nice to meet you. And thankfully, though, one of the dentists gave me some antibiotics. Pain went down. I actually feel pretty much back to normal right now, and I have a root canal scheduled for next Wednesday. So this will finally be in my rearview mirror very shortly. So I do appreciate a lot of people did reach out and asking how I am, and people relating their previous experiences too, and understanding how painful and irritating and distracting it can be having this like pain that you're carrying all day. So I really appreciated that, and happy this is almost done.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Do you ever feel like the movie film podcast at some point has become two middle-aged men talking about getting old? Oh, and also movies occasionally too.
I do. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So for those of you who are in the market for that, that's what we got what you want.
Oh yeah. And but what's nice is, a lot of listeners reach out and relate things from their lives to us and to me, personally. And I just love that connection. I appreciate that. And I do feel like, we're almost like gathering around a table, and just, of course, talking about movies. That's the main focus. That's why we showed up. But occasionally, just hopefully relatable sorts of things.
Tell us about your medical procedures, everybody.
Yes.
MovieFilmpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, sure. Why not? It was originally people writing in about their most memorable movie going experiences, but now it can be, oh yeah, I got this weird clicking sound in my elbow. And, you guys ever get that? We slowly transitioned into, like a health call-in show, basically.
Yeah. I feel like that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Have you seen, I know you've been busy, but have you seen anything lately?
Yeah, not as much as I would like. But I have been watching the body cam footage of Justin Timberlake being arrested.
I saw that this was, you know what I saw? I saw the footage of that Bachelorette woman.
Look at us. This is what the Movie Film Podcast has devolved into.
I didn't know anything about it. I just saw it's like the ABC cancels the entire season of The Bachelorette. And I'm like, well, I've never watched The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, and I have no interest. But obviously, I have to click on this headline.
Right. Well, did you see the Timberlake stuff?
I did see that. I mean, it's just it's just people embarrassing themselves on camera.
Well, I was going to say we can swap info, but I got to be honest, I wasn't super proud of myself. In a way, it was conflicted feelings. Literally, I got home last night from a long day, learning that I was going to have to work this weekend, and I was like, ugh. And like I didn't even know what to start. I didn't know what I was even in the mood for, how to wind down. And then as I was, scrolling on my phone, I saw, the body cam footage of this Timberlake thing's been released. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay. And so I clicked on that.
This is from his DUI thing from
like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And so anyway, there was, it definitely feels voyeuristic. And I don't know if I'd be thrilled with people watching and commenting and scrutinizing me, in a similar situation or whatever. And at the same time, there's something weirdly fascinating about it because it's someone who's globally famous and experiencing sort of something that you would imagine he doesn't experience very often, but most, normal people do, being pulled over by a cop and that weird anxious, nervousness when you're talking with them and interacting with them and just trying to listen clearly as they're speaking to you. And so it was weird. I really did go back and forth. Like, I don't know, like, do I need to be watching this? And then also I watched all 18 minutes of it. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, again, there's something strangely fascinating about it, but anyway, I don't know.
Well, here's my only, maybe there is something karmic about Justin Timberlake going through that moment, because I feel like he skated past these other controversies that should have at least somewhat included him. And I'm thinking of like the Janet Jackson Super Bowl thing.
Sure.
Right. Which, if you remember, him and Janet Jackson had that duet, and I don't even know. It ended with her having like part of her top ripped away and her boob was like partly exposed, right? Remember? I
still don't understand what was supposed to happen there.
I have no idea.
Because if anyone somehow doesn't know what this is, it was a performance during the Super Bowl halftime show, and it ends with, I mean, the lyric, like, "Gonna get you naked by the end of the song," or something like that. And Timberlake rips a portion of Jackson's clothes off,
Yeah.
exposing like her boob, but she's got like a nipple cover that's like all
Yes.
bedazzled. So it
Yes.
looks like intentional.
Part of this the act.
Yeah, but then that's where we get the phrase wardrobe malfunction. That's where it became a big.
That's where it came from. Yeah.
Yes, when you hear wardrobe malfunction, I mean, I'm sure it existed beforehand.
No, I think it started there, Brian.
well, at least in the way that we use it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Timberlake kind of walked away from that unscathed, but yeah, Jackson.
It feels like he walked away like hands in pockets, whistling to himself as he like walked as fast away from it as possible. Right?
Yeah, and there was a lot of scrutiny on Jackson, and there was like FCC investigations and fines, and
it was so ridiculous.
It was an ordeal. Yeah,
it really was. And suddenly, everyone was overcome with the vapors over this thing. Which,
and by the way, at this point in time, we'd seen Sipowitz's naked rear.
Yeah, and we were all the better for it, frankly. Anyway, he like kind of glided right past that, and I'm like, well, at least some scrutiny should be put on the guy who did the ripping,
or as opposed he should speak up. He should comment on it.
He didn't defend her. He didn't do anything.
Yes.
Right. And then, we also know in hindsight that he was pretty shitty to Britney Spears.
Right.
During some pretty rough times for her.
Right.
And so all I'm saying is, eventually the piper comes calling. You know what I mean?
Maybe. And I mean, there is part of it too where you'd like to think that no one is above the law.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world where many people are above the law.
Yeah. But not Justin Timberlake, God damn it.
Well, but it's a frustrating thing, to swallow. But like, you'd like to think if I get pulled over and I've been drinking, like I should and will be treated a certain way. And you'd like to think that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It somehow like levels it a little bit. This thing, I think maybe for some people, but anyway.
Well, in that vein, see now I had no intention of talking about this, but yeah, this Taylor Frankie Paul.
Yeah.
I know way more about this person now than really I need to, or I want to. I wish I could transport myself back to a week ago, like right before I hit play on and stop myself from just, getting my YouTube algorithm all effed up.
Well, see, now I am grateful because I spent all my precious minutes on this Timberlake thing, and I've seen this headline, but I don't really know the story.
Well, so she's the star of the new season of The Bachelorette that was starting this week, but she got the gig on the back of this other show she was on called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Okay.
Which itself is... How do I know this, Brian?
There are a lot of channels and streamers and everything out there, and they must be filled.
Seriously. So this show started on the back of like it was like a TikTok, like a mom talk.
Yeah. Speaking of mom talk, I think that's where Timberlake was pulled over. Out in the Hamptons. Anyway, but yes.
So it's this group of Mormon mom influencers.
Yeah, okay.
And by the way, I'd also like to go back in time and prevent the word influencer from being invented.
Right. When we start talking about the Oscars a little bit later, we can talk about that. I don't know if you saw about that one influencer who's getting roasted a little bit because he didn't have any context for any of the questions he was asking. And I think it might have been Kris Jenner who was like, how did you get to do this? She like literally said it to his face.
When Kris Jenner is laying you out, that's when you need to consider your choices.
And at the same time, sorry, I want to get back to this, but at the same time, they are the people who are getting the views from a certain, demographic. So
yeah. All of this is connected. Anyway,
it's all
so this mom talk, that group fell apart because like they were a bunch of swingers, and one was having an affair with another one's husband, and it became like a whole thing.
Okay.
Which led to a lot of drama on Mom Talk, but it led Hulu to be like, hey, there's a reality show here.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing again. I'm thinking about the dental talk, the old man health talk, and now we're like, which created a lot of chaos on mom talk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened?
What have we become?
I know. But I am interested. So because this involves an entire series of television, of network
Yes.
television being trashed.
It is bananas. Yeah. So anyway, yes, Taylor Frankie Paul was on this show, and she was a lot of drama, right? And obviously that makes for good television. It doesn't make for a well-rounded person, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so so the show has been very successful on Hulu.
Okay.
Like one of their most successful shows ever. And I guess Hulu, being that it's all part of the same vertical, the Bachelorette folks are like, hey, she's single now, as documented on the other show. We should put her on the Bachelorette. And she had already had some kind of an arrest for domestic violence. And so she got this whole season of a show coming, of the Bachelorette coming. And then this video comes out of her, she's in a fight with her ex-boyfriend. She's like throwing chairs at him.
Oh, wow.
And screaming at him. And like her daughter is in the room watching. I mean, it's really horrible, right? Mm-hmm. And so ABC, this is the only, but believe me, anyone who listens to the shows knows I don't follow this stuff. But ABC was like, oh, ooh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to have to cancel the whole season of the show.
Wow.
And so this goes to what you were saying. Like, how do you not do just the barest due diligence on this? Like, how does it not occur to you that this might be out there,
That, and also you just get a little glimpse of what they feel like will be the biggest draw for them. Like they had to know this stuff, but they were like, oh, they must be thinking it was worth the risk, because how do we keep people watching season 25 of this show?
Yeah.
And she seemed worth it through some matrix that they ran. You know what I mean? And it just shows that sometimes you're sort of playing with fire and you don't know if the curtains are going to get ignited.
See, the thought I have is that, you and I, we've been around long enough for we were around when The Real World started, which is like the granddaddy of reality shows, right? Mm-hmm. And when Survivor started, and we started seeing even back then how people would create these personas for these shows.
Yeah.
Right. Famously, the first season of Survivor. You remember who won the first season of Survivor?
Richard Hatch.
Right?
I didn't even watch it.
Me either.
Yep.
But everybody know he was the bad guy on Survivor.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so like it started there, like, oh, you got to put on this persona, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm like, this woman, she's got to be, she's probably in her 20s, I'm guessing, maybe 30s, mm-hmm. right? And so this is all she knows. She's grown up mm-hmm. in this mm-hmm. age mm-hmm. where it's just you're baked in the oven of reality television / being an influencer. She's 31 now, right? So in other words, this all started when she was like 25,
right?
And I'm like people's brains are getting cooked by this is what fame is.
Yeah, right.
This is who you have to be in order to stick out. Real Housewives, like the person who flips the table and says you bitch or whatever, like they're the ones who get the book deals or whatever.
Totally. It's funny, I talk about this occasionally, but like my one of my guilty pleasures is the show Below Deck.
Yep.
And it's a reality show basically about a crew on a super yacht, and these guests come on and you get to watch the crew deal with the guests, deal with one another, have to problem solve on the fly in the kitchen, and why isn't the meal ready, and these people are demanding this and whatever. And I've always loved it because I worked at a restaurant for several years, and it just reminds me of that atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so I recognize the personalities, I recognize the problems, and I enjoyed watching them problem solve and have to figure out how to problem solve together. And it is fascinating as the seasons have gone on, right up to this season that I'm watching right now, where you see these younger crew members come in who have either never worked on a boat or they did it maybe once
Mhm.
but they are literally there just to become stars.
Wow.
You know, like they don't know what they're doing, and they are like stirring the pot, like because that's what they've seen. They're
Right.
like, oh, if I go talk to so and so, that's going to get this person mad, and then when I do my interview, I can be like, ooh, aren't I a little devil? You know, kind of a personality. And it just even in like the last couple of years, it feels like that's changed, and now you just see a lot of people on there just to become personalities, famous, get their own show, spinoff, or whatever.
They're in it for the money,
Yeah.
not boating.
Not the boating. Yeah, you know, and it's interesting seeing the people who truly have been in the industry for many years having to deal with these people and being like, why are you even here? You know,
Right.
but and they're young, and this is what they've grown up with, and that they must think this is what you do
Yeah.
on a television show.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating.
I think it is, and I think it's fascinating for a whole host of reasons. Most obviously, what it tells us about where we are and where we're headed,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, not a lot of that is good, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just it's kind of like I think people are really wrestling with the phoniness of a lot of, not just our like our discourse, just broadly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is because everyone is propelled by this desire to go viral, to get their bag.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if all of that is artificial in this way, you know, I think people are really just clamoring for something genuine.
You know, I wasn't going to bring this up because I'm just feeling so run down by the week, and I just wanted to talk about positive things. But I was driving home one night, and a podcast was recommending the Netflix documentary Louis Theroux Inside the Manosphere.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Yeah, and so I mean, I got home, it was like 10 p.m. and I needed to wind down, and it just doesn't feel like you think you'd put on like a rerun of Parks and Rec or something to wind down, but like I was just curious because I don't know a lot about this, and it was like 90 minutes, and I just felt like I was interested, and it had a recommendation. Anyway, you're reminding me of it because basically Thoreau meets these, I guess, manosphere influencers who have millions of followers around the world.
So this is like people like Andrew Tate and things like that.
Yeah, he doesn't speak with him. I don't even remember. The only name I remember is someone named H.S. Tiki Taki.
Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Thoreau has this very laid back, you know, non-intrusive style, which I think gets people to feel kind of relaxed and speak a little more freely. But he is like slyly asking these really incisive questions. And anyway, the reason I bring it up is because these people, these influencers or whoever, they say these really, really horrifying things, you know, just about women and all sorts of things. And then Thoreau is basically like, I mean, do you really believe that? And some of these guys will be like, well, it gets clicks. Like that's, if I say that gets money. And he asks one of them, I mean, have you ever thought of like doing like a positive drop? Like, have you ever thought about doing something kind of nice or whatever? And the guy really thinks about it. The influencer guy, he really thinks about it. And he's like, I wouldn't be where I am if I did that.
Wow.
You know? And so, yeah, I mean, that's the formula. And he actually gets these guys to admit that they don't even believe the things, or at least all of the things that they're saying.
Yeah.
That's how they get their followers. That's how they get their money.
I mean,
and kids are watching this like it's some sort of gospel,
right?
You know, and they don't know that these people are just acting.
Yeah,
you know. So I don't know.
This stuff, it terrifies the shit out of me, right? I mean, I have 4 boys who are 12 and up,
mm-hmm.
You know, and so I mean they're exposed to this stuff,
mm-hmm.
You know, and it really worries me in terms of what is deemed not just acceptable but aspirational.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think about this a lot, right? Because when you're at that age, you're driven by this desire to be sort of subversive or edgy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's a very high school thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of the class clown idea. Like and as an analogy, you know, I remember being in my late teens and listening to, this is in Chicagoland, right? Man Cow in the mornings,
Totally.
right? Or Love Line in the evenings,
Yeah.
both of which run Q101. And again, like Love Line, right? Well, you want it to be like Adam Carolla,
Right.
and he would say the stuff that no everyone else is too afraid to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you do a little living, and you're like, oh wait, well that's stupid, and rude, and all that stuff, right? But you figure that out through like just social interaction with people and experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if that the algorithm represents just like a walled highway that you're on
Mm-hmm.
forever?
Right.
That's my worry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is crafting a reality,
Yeah.
you know, for people that, yeah, like you're saying, they're going to be kind of like locked into,
Right.
that's been created for them. And that isn't reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
As long as you're aware of that. I mean, hopefully kids, you know, parents will do a good job helping their kids kind of understand that, you know, and I'm sure not all of them are, but you know, just so I can get lost in it too and think everybody's having this conversation right now, but that's not always accurate. That's just, you know, what my algorithm wants me to feel, or it's just
right.
feeding me the things I'm interested in. So,
I mean, you know, it's like when I was in junior high and early high school, I was a big Rush Limbaugh fan.
mm-hmm.
And some people listening can be like, what the hell?
Right.
I was like a big Rush Limbaugh fan. And you know, he wrote a book called The Way Things Ought to Be. And I read it. I was like, hey, this is the way things ought to be. I'm like a friggin' 8th grader, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I remember talking to a friend and I was like, yeah, you know, Rush Limbaugh, he's great. And he was like, Zach, what do you think Rush Limbaugh thinks of you? Meaning like a young Muslim kid.
Mm.
And that was like a pebble that hits your windshield.
Sure.
And it's just like a little thing. And then eventually, you know, that sort of put me down, pointed me down this road where I'm like, oh yeah, shit. Like he don't like me very much.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so my point is like, I had the ability to get these off ramps.
Mm-hmm.
And those off ramps are what got me to where I am now. And I'm not saying I'm perfect now. I'm probably just as flawed in entirely different ways. But the point is, I'm able to recognize how toxic that worldview was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I worry about. Like we're in an age of algorithmically curated artificiality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's friggin' terrifying.
Yeah, you know, and I was also thinking related to that, you know, I mean, there's always been popular bullies punching down. Right.
Yeah, right.
Like you said, yeah, Man Cow. And I mean, Howard Stern was like that. I know he's kind of,
he's mellowed a lot.
He's mellowed a lot, but like in the 90s, I mean, he was just kind of a creepy bully, you know, and he was very popular. But I was thinking about those guys and I was like, they had a reach, and it was quite a reach, but the reach these people have now.
Oh yeah.
Global.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of followers. And it's just on another level.
And what's also weird, Brian, just to add to that, is they have millions of followers and yet they are largely unknown to vast swaths of people.
Isn't that fascinating?
Right. It's like
I didn't know one person that was featured.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the weird thing, right? Like there was a time when people were globally famous. Everybody knew them.
Yeah. Even if
now
I can imagine someone being like, well, Brian, you're old. True. But like, even like my parents knew who Britney Spears was, you know, my parents knew, you know, like Tom Green, even probably, you know what I mean? Like, people always kind of had an awareness of what was out there at least, but yeah, it's so fragmented now.
Yeah.
And the fragments can be very large.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, while we're talking reality television, I mean, you had the opportunity to watch something that's maybe not as horrible as the stuff we're talking.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
And actually, real quick, just to put a button on this, so ABC has canceled the entire season of The Bachelorette, and this is like unprecedented. They have to eat the cost of this whole season, and man, that's fascinating. I feel like somebody's going to lose their job over this. Anyway, that's all.
Millions and millions of dollars probably in production costs, in advertising they're going to lose.
Yeah.
What are they going to put in that spot? Like that doesn't happen very often. That's crazy. Yeah. But yes, on a much more uplifting note, I didn't even realize that this was out, but do you remember a show called Jury Duty?
Yeah, I watched it because of you.
Okay, great. So it was a show, I guess like a hidden camera show / reality show / comedy, which was basically, the conceit was a real person who's not an actor was brought into a scenario where they believed that they were going to be serving on a jury, and they knew that it was going to be filmed for some sort of reality show purpose. But what they didn't know was that every single other person, the judge, the other jurors, the bailiffs, are all actors creating situations.
Right.
So we can observe how this real person would behave in these kind of crazy heightened situations.
So kind of a Truman Show-esque scenario.
Yeah. Very true. Exactly. And it was very funny. They just lucked out picking the most perfect person to be in the situation, because he was interesting, but also very understanding and kind, and was able to roll with punches and wanted to bond with everybody. And, when people would be going through some sort of crazy comic scenario, he was always trying to like help them out.
Right.
And it made for great TV because you could root for this person, and the show wasn't picking on him.
Right.
It just, they struck this perfect balance where it was just kind of a warm-hearted, funny thing to watch. And he took it very well when they revealed to him at the end that the whole thing had been a ruse. So it was so popular. You think, well, they've got to do a season 2, but how in the world do they pull that off? And what do? I mean, they can't just do another jury duty setting or whatever, And so it turns out season 2, they do the naming conceit like the Knives Out movies, where it's like, first movie's called Knives Out, and then the second movie, has nothing to do with knives, are literally a part of the plot in Knives Out. And then part 2 is like Glass Onion, a Knives Out tale or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So this one is funny because it's called Jury Duty Presents Company Retreat. So,
okay, gotcha.
Which is a lot of funny words together. But anyway, it's pretty brilliant. What they do is they hire someone to be a temp at this small hot sauce company. And basically the owner's son is going to be taking over the company, but he's kind of like a lovable screw up.
Okay.
And they're going to go on this company retreat. And, the transition is going to happen there with the son taking over the company. And of course, like, it's all these really funny characters, in these different departments. And this one normal, non-actor person who is a temp, there to help them out, and has no idea that he's being set up, in this situation. And what's interesting about it is, Jury Duty was this contained setting. You're basically just in a courthouse, and it's very, something we've all kind of experienced, and there's not a lot of areas for him to move around. So I'm sure it was easier for the actors to kind of like step out and be briefed by the directors and then come back into like the waiting room or whatever. I got to go to the bathroom, and then come back. But this is at this, like retreat area, there's different cabins, and there's a cafeteria, and there's a gazebo where they all meet. And it almost feels more like he's been dropped into a sitcom. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like The Office or something. And, they can move around a little bit more, and there's a lot of different settings, and it's probably more complicated to pull off. But once again, I don't have the guy's name in front of me, but the guy they picked is just so perfect. He's just a really nice guy, and a lot of the actors are coming up to him with these situations that are kind of awkward or uncomfortable, and he's just trying to lift them up. Right. And it's really sweet and fun to watch, and it just put me in a great mood last night. So yeah, I would highly recommend season 1. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. And if you enjoyed season 1, I have to imagine you would enjoy season 2. So it's dropping in an interesting way. I only watched 2 episodes, so I thought I was behind, but they've only dropped 3 so far. And then next week they're going to drop 2 more, and then the week after that 2 more. So
I'm looking forward to checking it out. I didn't know this even existed, so that makes me happy.
yeah, I thought it was kind of cool where I like that it is just entirely different, an entirely different universe. Like jury duty, courthouse, like a very specific setting, but now it's this small company and they make hot sauce, and it just completely different universe, and that's kind of fun, but with the same cheeky, warm tone. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's over at Amazon Prime.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next season. Jury Duty presents Company Retreat:
Mission to Mars.
Mission to Mars.
Yeah.
A Knives Out mystery.
Exactly. Brought to you by Amazon Prime.
A service of Glub.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, geez. Okay. Hey, we got some headlines, Brian.
Oh.
Extra, extra.
What a scoop. Brian, I was just thinking about how we had a fun discussion about the passing of Chuck Norris and the Oscars, which happened last week. And I would love for our listeners to hear that, but the only place they can hear that is on our Patreon feed.
Yes, we're dropping bonus conversations over there about twice a month now, just things that don't quite fit into the show. We're trying to keep the show at a reasonable length, but there's so much we want to talk about. And so, yeah, we talked about the passing of Chuck Norris and, of course, the memeing of Chuck Norris, and our thoughts about the Oscars and Conan hosting for the second time in a row. And I think it was a fun discussion, and people can find that over at our Patreon feed, which is at patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast. And if you subscribe for only $5 a month, you'll find that conversation and all our commentaries in these episodes ad-free.
Ad-free. So certainly for the commentary tracks, that's the best way to experience those, especially if you want to watch the movies along with our tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, some big new trailers just dropped.
Yeah, big ones.
For ones people have been excited about. So, well, we got Spider-Man: Brand New Day, first trailer for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out this July, late July, which is kind of interesting to me. I feel like
I thought the same thing. I wrote down the date. It's July 31st.
Yeah.
And as I saw that, I was like, oh, why not July 4th?
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Feels like that's where it should go. But anyway, let's first play some of the audio from this.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't remember me, but we used to know each other. Something bad was going to happen, and the only way to stop it was to make everyone forget about me. Because I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man.
The hell, Frank? You just hit me with a van!
Quit your whimpering.
So I watched this trailer, and it's been fun over the last several months. I would say people are like, when are we going to see the Spider-Man trailer? Why isn't And I'm like, okay, like you'll see the trailer. I mean, it's they're not going to sneak this one out.
Sure.
It'll, like what are you freaking out about? And then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, I want this movie right now.
I know.
I am so ready for this.
I love these movies.
Right?
Yeah.
I just felt like warm and fuzzy after a while. Every part of this, I was like, it's a Spider-Man adventure, and it's been long enough now that I'm ready for it. And this is my point, because the last one came out at the end of 21, so it's like almost 5 years, or 4.5 years, and I'm like, sometimes waiting is good.
Yeah.
The wait is going to end up benefiting this movie, is my prediction.
I think so.
And a couple thoughts. Okay, first of all, we see the Punisher, played by John Bernthal, and I'm like, this has me just happy as a clam, because seeing the Punisher and Spider-Man in the same movie, never would have imagined that. We get Bruce Banner in there. I don't know if we're going to see the Hulk. I'm assuming we will. But also, like, Tom Holland has been doing this shit for 10 years now. It's been 10 years since Civil War.
Wow.
and he doesn't look like a kid anymore. He looks like a young man,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I'm like, that's cool to me also, that we're at a point now where we're letting Peter Parker grow up,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
right? Like, because this, there's been this weird Arrested Development where it's like he's he's in high school, graduates, starting over. He's in high school, graduate, starting over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming this movie does well, Tom Holland will be well positioned to play the role for at least another couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that by itself is just like, this is the first time we've had a Spider-Man who we've really been able to go the distance with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also, I like that there doesn't seem to be any multiverse business from the trailer anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. I've brought this up. I love No Way Home. And sometimes I can get a little critical of, when the plot gets overly complicated to try to like deal with other movies and multiverses and whatever. And sometimes they pull it off, of course. But I feel like, No Way Home perfectly pulled that off. It was juggling a lot and it nailed an ending. Like it was all useful to get to an ending that was just so powerful to me and like heartbreaking. Right. And I'm really excited to pick up the story from that point.
Right. Yeah, like I remember early on, when you had like the back and forth between Sony and Marvel about the direction of this movie. Sony was like, "Oh, we want Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back," and I'm like, "No, guys, no, you did it,
right."
Yeah, that was the thing. You did it. You're gonna dilute the power of that, and Marvel was leaning towards doing something more grounded, which it seems to me this is. Where this one is headed. Spider-Man should be a little more ground level,
Yeah.
No sky beam business.
Exactly. I mean, truly, like I want to see him, flying through skyscrapers and solving crimes in New York.
Exactly. So we see the Scorpion is at least a villain in this, and he was first, brought up in Spider-Man Homecoming. So I'm like, man, that actor was like probably just waiting patiently by his phone.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got his minute, he didn't have to wait quite as long as the leader in Captain America.
Right.
Where it was like, it was like something crazy, like 16, 17 years. But I'm glad the Scorpion is getting his turn. Spider-Man has so many great villains.
Yeah. Not going just back to Green Goblin, sort of like with Batman. There's just this impulse to keep going back to the Joker. And
exactly, right? Like, because other than No Way Home, which kind of brought back the greatest hits, all the other movies, they always have different bad guys. And I'm like, that's great because there's so many to pull from,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not as steeped in this stuff as you, but I mean, it looks like there's ninjas. Is this The Hand?
Yeah. So this is called The Hand.
Yeah.
Which is from the Daredevil corner of the Marvel universe,
which is where the foot comes from, right?
The foot, exactly.
The Ninja Turtle.
Ninja Turtles. So very much inspired by Frank Miller's Daredevil run, where the idea is that in the comic books for Daredevil, Matt Murdock got his powers because a truck carrying toxic waste was barreling towards an old man, and Matt Murdock pushes this guy out of the way, but he's hit by this waste, and that's what gives him his powers. So the idea was that very same waste then fell into the sewers and created the Ninja Turtles. And of course, Daredevil was taught by a ninja master named Stick, and so the Turtles are taught by a ninja master named Splinter. And then the hand and the foot, etc. So very, very heavily inspired by that. But the appearance of the hand in this trailer has people wondering if Daredevil will be in this. And certainly, I mean, if you've got the Punisher, there's at least the possibility. But Charlie Cox was on, the new season of Born Again, Daredevil Born Again starts this coming week. So he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show, and he's like, I'm not in Spider-Man. He's like, if I was in it, I would still tell you I'm not in it. But seriously, I'm not in it.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to say, I mean, people have said that before.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield famously throughout, like he was asked every every opportunity. Are you in Spider-Man? Know him? Like, nope. I'd love to be. And then, of course, he was in it.
Yeah.
So Charlie Cox is like double assuring us. So I guess we'll see.
Well, and we know that Sadie Sink's in the movie also, but
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it hasn't. I'm looking on IMDb. Everyone, it's like the actor and then their character name, and hers doesn't have a character name, so that's being withheld for now.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, she's playing Jean Grey," and I'm like, "Is it because she has red hair? Like that's the only, like, you know?" I don't know who she's playing, and you know what? I'm happy to not know.
Yeah, no, I'm same. I want to be surprised.
You know, our friend Paul Shirey is putting on his Substack. He's serializing his memoir.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Confessions of a Movie Blogger.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Shirey, for anybody listening who doesn't know, he used to be editor-in-chief of JoeBlow.com. And of course, he's been a movie geek since long before that. And in his latest chapter, he talks about, during his time running the site, how, there was this rush to get scoops, and publishing plot information and things that would be considered spoilery,
Mm-hmm.
and how during that time, we're talking like 10 years ago, there was this real appetite for that, and how he himself saw that appetite fall away, and how now even he himself doesn't read spoiler articles because he wants to reclaim his power as a moviegoer.
That's fascinating that he's noticing that as a trend.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Huh.
And I was thinking about that because there was a time I'm not like precious about it where I'm like, don't tell me anything, but I'm
Right.
like, I don't seek the stuff out. I'm like, I'd just rather go experience it,
Yeah, sure.
And it's nice
I
to be
agree.
able to,
Yeah, to be surprised.
so like, I don't care that this trailer is probably omitting stuff. I suspect from certain shots, things that we'll see later. And I'm like, good. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. It's good to be surprised,
That's a fascinating thing from the modern era, isn't it? Because you'll see group shots, but they can digitally remove certain people that they don't want you to know,
or add people that aren't going to be in the final shot.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. But I really love the way this looks. I remember saying when I saw some of the behind the scenes stuff when they were filming, you could see they had these big rigs. So Spider-Man was practically actually being filmed swinging through New York.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting to me. And I love seeing some of that stuff in here. A lot of cool comic booky shots. Directly lifted. Directly
from famous images and covers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the new, like inside the mask shot.
Yeah, so I saw that. I think it's a terrific shot. So we see it's towards the beginning of the trailer. We see Peter. So where the last movie left us, there's a spell that Doctor Strange cast that makes everyone forget Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, as he said, it's the most heartbreaking decision he has to make in order to save the universe, the multiverse. I have to give up the woman I love. What's more Spider-Man than that, right? And so now here he is. He's on top of a building looking on his phone as Ned and MJ are celebrating getting into college, and that's a life he doesn't get to be a part of. And so he puts on his mask and he jumps off this building. What a great Spider-Man thing. And I love that normally it's like, woo, right? But here we cut to the inside of his mask and we just see his eyes are he's like bored.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, huh. Right. And I'm like, man, that is very Spider-Man, Well,
and what I love is you could do that through the mask or, looking at him with the mask and watch him. But like being in there with him just makes it 10 times sadder.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's just, it's a brilliant idea. Cause I mean, the Iron Man thing was always kind of amazing how we get inside the mask with Robert Downey Jr., but that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Exactly. Like we've talked about this, right? Spatially, it doesn't make sense, but it's a conceit.
It somehow works. My brain can wrap, around.
I say it was the most brilliant idea John Favreau had.
Yeah.
Let's just point a flashlight at Downey's head, and then we're getting his performance actively throughout the film.
Yeah.
And so, people online are like, well, how's there enough room in his mask for that? And I'm like, God, this is, we may be doomed as a species. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have never been able to imagine the Spider-Man way to get inside that mask, but they nailed it. And it's one of those things, you hear this with like books where they say, in a book, sometimes you enjoy them more because you can get inside a character's head in a way that you can't in a film. And
Right.
just that shot struck me as, oh, that's that feeling you get when you read a book and you really know how they're feeling. I think because it feels so intimate,
Right.
like otherwise it's not possible to be so close with him and see how he's feeling in that moment. And I just thought that was brilliantly done.
I agree. Yeah, and we should mention that this one is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, stepping in for John Watts, who did his trilogy and moved on. Destin Daniel Cretton having kind of a good year at Marvel because he was also in charge of Wonder Man, which you and I absolutely loved.
One of my favorite things I've watched this year.
Seriously, like Marvel or no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
would say even if you're not crazy about Marvel or you're a little, burnt out with Marvel, this doesn't feel really like a Marvel show. This is just a really great buddy show.
Yeah.
And it was very emotional and funny and stressful and exciting. And I felt my heart was full when it ended. I really, really loved it. I highly recommend it.
Well, and Destin Daniel Cretton also did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is one of those ones it feels like everyone forgets about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be like, yeah, but there was Shang-Chi. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, no, I love Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Everybody liked it.
Yeah. So I'm glad that he gets this spotlight because gosh, I mean, we mentioned this before, but he was one of our first interviews on this show well before any Marvel business.
Right.
He directed Short Term 12, which is also a terrific little movie.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, another trailer. We got, I don't know if you've seen this. There's a new Jack Ryan movie coming out.
I have not seen this. Is this a John Krasinski joint, or is this?
It is a John Krasinski joint.
Or is this a Chris Pine sequel?
No, this is going to be Jack Ryan, No Way Home. They're bringing everybody in.
No, Zachy, that I would watch.
We got Alec Baldwin, we got Harrison Ford, and Ben Affleck. Yeah, we got the whole gang.
Harrison Ford would show up in the third act, walking through that sparkling portal. I heard you need an analyst.
God damn you, sir. No, so yes, this is a sequel to the series, the Amazon Prime series.
Okay.
Which I have said before, I loved that show.
I missed it, but it feels like something I would enjoy.
You know what? It was 4 seasons. It's a good show. You got a good show waiting for you. John Krasinski is, to me, he's second to Harrison Ford, who's my favorite Jack Ryan.
Okay.
So that show ended and it did pretty well, but Amazon has gone back to that universe. They're not rebooting it, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hoping this would be a theatrical release, but it is going to be a Prime Video release, which I don't know why they're doing that, but regardless, that's going to be May 20th. And they're bringing back Krasinski. You got Wendell Pierce and Michael Kelly. Sienna Miller is in it. And honestly, like, I watched this trailer. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I'm like, again, kind of the same as Spider-Man. I'm like, man, I am ready for this.
Oh, that's great.
Give me my like 90s style espionage thriller.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Krasinski is fantastic in this role. Like, because the thing about Jack Ryan is, like, he's got to be brainy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to believe he can throw a punch, you know?
Right.
And that's tricky because sometimes they'll nail one side, sometimes they'll nail the other, and it's tough to do both, right? Harrison Ford can nail both,
mm-hmm.
But Krasinski's great in the role,
Yeah. It's funny. Like I said earlier, I've been getting home kind of late and just turn on the TV to wind down, and I was flipping channels and Clear and Present Danger was on.
There you go.
I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect. It's that scene.
That movie is my happy place.
Oh, yeah. It was the scene where the caravan gets boxed into that alley.
Dude.
And I was like,
So
wow, like just watching this like taut, action-packed 90s filmmaking.
Yeah.
It was great. And it made me want to go back and just kind of go through that series, start with Hunt for Red October and Patriot.
Yeah, seriously. We should go through that series.
Definitely.
But watch the Jack Ryan show. You'll like it. I think this movie, you could probably just watch it cold. Like, you don't need to know much. You know what I mean?
Like, it's an adventure, not
exactly
of.
Yeah. So it's called Jack Ryan Ghost War.
Okay.
and it is worth a look. You know, I was always disappointed that we didn't get more of Ben Affleck as Ryan, because I thought Sum of All Fears was really good.
Yeah, I only saw that the one time back in the day, but I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, it was weird because that came out within weeks of The Bourne Identity. So you had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck both doing their literary spy movie.
Yeah.
And both were deemed successful.
Mm.
And yet Bourne, you know, went on to have quite the afterlife.
Yeah.
Although if I recall, you were never like fully on board with that character or those
Bourne?
films. Yeah.
I enjoyed them when I was watching them, but they didn't.
They don't stay with you.
They don't stay with me.
Yeah.
But I would happily watch a new one, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, you're like unlocking something for me, because I did not watch the Jeremy Renner one.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, not exactly the same. But and then I feel like, didn't Damon come back?
He came back, yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
And that one, man, you talk about a movie that didn't have any kind of a cultural impact, it feels like.
You know, and that's ironic, because what I was going to say was, with Jason Bourne, even though it's been a while, I feel like that name has stayed in the culture.
Yeah.
You know, sort of not to the degree of MacGyver.
Right.
Necessarily, where people probably don't even know MacGyver as a character, but they hear people say, "Oh, I'm going to MacGyver this,"
right?
Which means they're going to use a paper clip and some chewing gum to unlock a door, you know. But Bourne, you know, just for like, I don't know, jumping over a fence and doing some sort of spy type of barrel, you know, or you know, a forward roll or something across the ground. Oh, I Jason Bourne that, you know.
Yeah,
I hear people say that. So it's interesting that stayed like it did.
Yeah. And I know that they're trying to do something new with Jason Bourne, but
why not?
But until then, we got Jack Ryan Ghost War. I am ready.
You know, it's so funny though. I got to admit, when you say something Ghost War, I'm like, oh, I want to see that movie. I want to see a movie about a war with ghosts. That sounds kind of cool. Like in like a city, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like some sort of Ghostbusters meets like a crime film or something, or like a action film. Like,
start writing, my friend.
Dude, if I saw that trailer, I'd sort of like The Frighteners meet some sort of action film.
I think you're talking yourself right into this log line. So I think
I think I'm just gonna shut my mouth.
Yeah, exactly. I think you might have uncorked something. Hey, one last trailer. This also dropped just this week. Dune Part 3. You want to play some of the audio from this?
Let's do it.
War feeds on itself. The more I fight, the more our enemies fight back. I'm doing the best I can to protect my family. How did Father do it?
Your father never started a war.
All right, so Dune Part 3. My recollection is you liked Dune Part 2.
Yeah, I like the Dune films.
So this one has certainly the wind at its back, so much so that it's opening, at least as of this moment, it's opening the same day as Avengers Doomsday.
I mean, that's a flex. You know, I mean, from both of them, really. I mean, like, let's see if anyone blinks, and who's going to want to be the one who blinks. But at the end of the day, that's just bad decisions. You know what I mean?
It's weird, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, good.
I mean, it's certainly a show of confidence on the part of Warner Brothers, and rightly so, because I think, I mean, based on purely anecdotally conversations with my students, I mean, there is a Dark Knight Rises level of anticipation for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
I think so. You know? Like, people are very excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, 2, you know, 1 was interesting because it was very good, but it came out during the pandemic and was released simultaneously on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was hard to gauge how successful it was with the public, right? Because you didn't have the box office or much to, you know, be able to measure it.
Right.
And then 2, and it's interesting because these aren't just like popcorn flicks.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, they're
a little more cerebral.
Exactly, cerebral, and I mean, they have action, but they're long, and but yeah, 2 was very successful, and I feel like it entered meme culture, you know, and
right.
a lot of people were engaged with it, And I think that's very cool. I love that. And it
Yeah.
also made me think, with Timothy Chalamet doing a lot of interviews recently in the build up to the Oscars, something he's talked about was, he's in this to be the best. He wants to be like a legendary actor. And he
Right.
spoke with Leonardo DiCaprio about that. And DiCaprio
is that true? I had no idea that Timothy Chalamet was pursuing any kind of recognition.
right.
Is that,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that a thing?
You haven't
think that's happening?
Yeah. But no, the advice that DiCaprio gave him was, he said, no hard drugs, no superhero movies. And so I thought that was fascinating. First of all, just especially in this moment, and probably a little tricky, but Chalamet kind of lucked out because
hard
he
drugs, no
found his
superhero movies.
franchise. And it, to your point, it's kind of a cerebral franchise. It feels elevated.
It has a literary imprimatur.
Yes, but he gets to make his series, his sequels, and his and the blockbuster. So with a prestige director, no less.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Now this I can speak to because I spoke to Timothy Chalamet back in like 2018. He had just signed on, and I'm like big Dune fan, right? So I was like, what made you want to sign on to do that? And he's like, Denis asked me, I want to work with him, right? So very DiCaprio-esque in that you. It's who's the talent,
Mm-hmm.
So that tracks
totally.
And then out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, and F opera." I was like, "Bro, what?"
Right.
Little did I know. No,
you had already started to walk away, and you're like, "Huh?" You had to turn around.
He's like, "Let me tell you why I hate ballet." I was like, "Oh, okay, go on."
You only half heard him. You're like, "What? Opera's not so bad," and then you just kept walking away.
So this movie is. Actually, so two things. Dune Part 3 has the large size screens all locked up.
Wow.
So IMAX and XD. So I suspect that Disney would have to blink, right? Like, right? Like, I mean, they would.
I would think. I mean, and what would you do? Would you go earlier and then have Dune cannibalize a little bit of your box office, or do you go to like Christmas Day, and then Dune, everybody's checked that out, and then hopefully you ride through January, February, whatever.
I think the smart play would have been like Thanksgiving,
yeah, that makes a lot more sense,
right? Yeah, or like early part of December.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one,
I think Thanksgiving makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But I don't know that they can do that,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure at this point those premium screens have to be locked up by people all over the place, right?
Pretty much everybody. Like I don't think there's any I don't think there's any openings on the calendar,
Yeah.
I think it does speak to the perceived sort of the sense that Marvel's on a back foot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That Warner Bros. Like, no, this is where we're coming out. Deal with it,
Yeah. I'm actually looking it up. I'm curious what's coming out Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we got Meet the Parents 4.
Oh, I forgot that's coming out.
Yeah, and Narnia.
You need IMAX for that, obviously.
Narnia's got IMAX booked up.
There's a new Narnia?
Yeah, did you know that?
Is this...
Greta Gerwig and Netflix.
It is Greta Gerwig? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But she made sure that it got a theatrical release, and it's going to be on IMAX.
Okay. Is this... Wait, are they redoing Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Don't quote me. I don't think so. I think they're doing another book.
Okay. So I don't know. Marvel's kind of stuck. I mean, I guess you could just push it by 6 months, but I don't think anybody wants that either.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at December. You got Violent Night 2.
Okay.
First weekend. Then you got Jumanji 3 next weekend. And then you got Avengers and Dune.
Dude, Jumanji's going to get plastered. That is a bad time to release that movie.
I know. That feels like, I don't know.
When did Jumanji... when did the last one come out? That was 2019. I think,
2019,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Because I did the review for that for the paper. So,
and that came out December 13th. So similar.
Okay,
time.
this is interesting. Look, I want honestly, I want all these movies to do well.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna see all of them.
Right. And I'm sure people are going to be, you know, I've already seen the Doomsday, like Barbenheimer,
Yeah.
you know, people seeing both, but the premium ticket venues that Disney has to be concerned about that.
Yeah, you'd think.
You know, maybe they get the big screens after, like maybe they'll get them in January or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that like for Spider-Man Brand New Day, Sony has said it's going to have an extended theatrical run.
Okay.
Like longer that like 8 weeks or something.
Okay.
Before it comes to streaming and stuff. And I think part of that is I think they're dealing with something similar because the Odyssey has IMAX and everything.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
That's actually when is the Odyssey? That's like early July, right?
I knew I shouldn't have clicked off this. July. The 17th.
July 17th?
July 17th.
Wow. So Tom Holland, man.
Yeah.
So that explains why Sony has Spider-Man coming out later.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's interesting. Like you know, like I think this is good that Christopher Nolan is deemed somebody you want to move away from.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good that Dune is the thing that's got the big like the big screens locked down. To me, this is showing like the health of the industry, I guess is my point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's not all just superheroes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, didn't you sent me a video, right, of the LA Marathon, and someone was running and they bumped into Christopher Nolan walking his dog.
Yeah, this guy runs up to him. He's like, "Hey, Chris, I loved Oppenheimer. Oh, thank you." And he just keeps running.
Yeah, and it's great because Nolan seems very serious in a lot of his interviews, and his movies are very serious. But yeah, he had this like big smile on his face, like, "Oh, thanks." It's kind of nice seeing him in that mode, walking his dog.
I think he was partially happy because he's like, "Well, this guy's in a marathon, so I don't have to." he's gonna keep running.
Right.
Anyway, so Dune Part 3, it is being billed as the conclusion of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, several more books, so I think to some extent it's the conclusion of Villeneuve's trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a scenario where if this does well, they just stop.
Sure.
But it does allow for a wrap up as far as the Paul Atreides character.
Yeah, you, when I think around the time the second one was coming out, you brought me up to speed basically with the story of all the books. And this spans generations. So this thing can keep going and going and going. Yeah,
and I think that would be worthwhile. Like, I think Villeneuve would, were they to continue, I think Villeneuve would remain involved in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But let new filmmakers come in with a different view.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think you can do kind of the multi-generational thing that the Star Wars trilogies have already shown.
Yeah, good point. Different sets of trilogies, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's I'm trying to think. The third book, which is Children of Dune, that would be set several decades later. And it could involve the Paul character, but he's not the main character.
Right. Oh, because the first book was split in two.
First book was split in two. The movie that's
the second book.
This is so the Dune Part 3, the movie is based on the book Dune Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all three together allow for a great statement by Villeneuve about sort of the dangers of putting people on pedestals, I guess,
mm-hmm.
in a non-spoilery way,
Yeah, and I mean I kind of know what the story is now because you brought me up to speed on it, but it sounds really fascinating, and I loved seeing the trailer. I mean, just like a lot of drama, and Paul's arc seems very interesting, and to me, as someone who didn't read the books and is not super familiar with it, unexpected, and it'll be very interesting to see where it all goes.
I know, and I'm happy to see Jason Momoa is back as Jack in Idaho.
Yeah,
which that is an essential part of the story. So I'm actually very excited to see that aspect realized.
Yeah, and I got to call out this line that I loved, and I'm paraphrasing it. I didn't write it down, but basically Paul being like, "Oh, there's just so much war. How did Father deal with it?" And his mom's like, "Your father never started a war."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, that's good."
that is good.
And the visuals, of course, are just breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that we're getting another.
I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny I feel like it could, if these movies had crawls like the Star Wars films, it reminded me of Revenge of the Sith, where it could start with war. Exclamation point.
Yeah, really. So that is December 18th.
Yep.
And that's going to be here before we know it, by the way.
Yeah, I know that. And also, you know, with the Barbenheimer thing, Oppenheimer was long. It was 3 hours long, but Barbie was a little, you know, maybe like under 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So it was a long day at the movies, which I did, the back-to-back thing. This, people doing Doomsday, I mean, I got to imagine that is a very long sit.
Yeah, right. You're looking at like 6 hours easy.
Maybe, yeah, right. And then I'm sure that there's going to be little gaps in between the showings where you got to hang out at the theater, and so for the dedicated, it'll be a fun day.
Yeah, and I suspect also that they'll do some kind of a thing, at least at like AMC or whatever, where they screen the previous 2 Dune movies.
Oh man, yeah,
and then lead into this. So that's a long day all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, Brian, we got a new release in theaters right now.
Ooh.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
And we are back, and you know who else is back, Brian?
Who's that, Zachy?
Why, it's novelist Andy Weir with another movie based on a book about a guy trapped in space somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Who has a outside sense of humor.
Yeah, you know, he's found a niche.
Yep, definitely. And he has a book in between these two that I do not remember the name of.
These two being The Martian and Project Hail Mary.
Sorry, yes, I should say, yeah. And I enjoyed The Martian so much, and I enjoyed Project Hail Mary so much. I'm surprised I haven't read that one. So,
does that connect the two? Does it make us all part of a Andy Weir cinematic universe?
Yeah, I think so. Have you read any of his books?
I listened to The Martian, the audiobook.
Yep.
Based on your very fervent recommendation.
Yep.
We're talking like 2014. You're like, you have to listen to this.
Yeah.
And indeed I did, and I was just absolutely. I think I mean I've told this story on the show many moons ago, but I was listening to that, you know, driving here and there to school, and you know, coming back from class, and I would like sit in my parking spot for, you know, half an hour just listening after I got home, because I didn't want to miss, you know, I was just so invested in the story, you know.
That makes me so happy, because I don't remember how it came across my radar, but I don't think it was like quite the phenomenon yet.
Right.
When we were into it. And I had just started a new job, and I had the audiobook, and it was the same thing. I didn't really know anyone at the office, and this is when I should have been trying to like meet people and have lunch with people, but I just kept wanting to sneak away and eat lunch by myself so I could listen to more of the book, you know, and I would like make, you know, carve time out of my day just so I could continue listening to it. I enjoyed it so much. And I don't remember who the narrator was, but he just did such a good job of capturing that sort of wry, you know, sarcastic.
I can hear his voice.
Me too.
In my head. And that version, I can't find it anymore, because there's a newer version that's read by Will Wheaton.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Will, nothing but love, but I want the other guy back.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of fascinating. You know, yeah. Well, that started as a self-published work, right? The Martian, right. And I want to say even on a blog, he was just doing it chapter by chapter. And then somehow it got picked up, and he got a book deal. And then, so maybe that audiobook was sort of a thing before some major operation took it in. Interesting.
possibly.
Oh, but that guy was so good.
He was
You know,
terrific.
I love the movie with Matt Damon, but even then I was like, he's not quite my Mark Watney.
Hashtag not my Watney.
yeah, he's close and he's good, but yeah, that guy just nailed it. In my mind, that's the voice.
Although, so before we even get to Project Hail Mary, I mean, talking of The Martian, I mean, one thing I really appreciated about that film and the adaptation by Drew Goddard was how it preserved all the essential bits and pieces, at least to me, of the book. And to me, the changes that it made were in favor of making it more of a cinematic experience, but no drastic changes, and it's sort of you think of like in the 90s where you would have Hollywood adaptations of novels that would just run roughshod over everything that the book was about. You turn the Scarlet Letter into an action adventure romance,
right,
things like that. And I was just appreciative of the fact that The Martian really it worked so hard to preserve the essence of the book. All that is to say, I had hoped very much to read or listen to Project Hail Mary before the movie came out. That opportunity unfortunately escaped me. You, I believe, did read the book though.
Yeah, almost exactly a year ago, my friend Chad gave it to me for my birthday. And he was like, I just feel like you're going to like this. And it's funny because, again, I love The Martian so much, and I'm surprised that I didn't continue reading Weir's books, but I hadn't. And so I was familiar with it and that people kind of enjoyed it. And I was like, I'll get to it at some point. Anyway, he put it in my hands and I devoured it.
Yeah.
Really, really loved the book. So, I mean, I was wondering for people who had not read it, if they would still get the same experience if they see the movie first.
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, this is a very faithful adaptation.
Yeah. So we should say that as we record this, you and I are basically from our respective corners of California, we have basically stepped out of the theater and hopped on mic.
Yeah, just to sort of accommodate my wonky schedule, we had to chop up this episode a little bit. And yeah, we are fresh out of the darkened theater with this one.
So I went with the majority of my clan, and my second kid, he's 17. He listened to the audiobook and he's like, I loved it. I loved the book. I mean, and so it was fun on the drive back from the theater. I was like, okay, what did they keep? What's different from the book? What's the same? And he was very happy with how true it was to the book.
Same. I would have been sad if they had changed, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I kind of wondered, so what we are sort of known for is he really gets into the weeds with the science that is going down. These characters are always, very competent problem solvers.
Competent / quirky.
Definitely quirky, which makes that more palatable, right? Because if he was just like, well, I don't see how these numbers add up to a total that makes any sense to me of the sum diameter, like you wouldn't want to listen to that person. But if he's like, man, this equation's cuckoo bananas, it's a little more fun to listen to. But he does like get into the math and the chemistry and all those sorts of things. And you think it would lose you, but it's just, he makes it very interesting, and you are as excited as the character while they're figuring this stuff out, and so there is a lot of that going on, and everything I remember from the book is in the movie, but it's obviously they don't go as deep into it. And so I was wondering if it was easy to follow what was happening, why certain problems were happening, why something didn't work, because I knew I was bringing a lot of the book with me. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Yeah. Well, let's say, what did you think of the movie?
Well, so I really enjoyed it. Yeah. When Ryan Gosling hosted SNL, he was jokingly like, I'm in this new movie, Project Hail Mary. They're saying it's like Interstellar meets E.T., so like maybe the best movie ever made.
Right.
And obviously he was joking, but I'm like, well, it is in fact Interstellar meets E.T.
It is.
I mean, that's you can't go wrong with that. And indeed, it has the aspects of both of those that I enjoyed very much. And I should actually say, before we even get to the our reactions, I mean, this movie has had a remarkable launch already. I mean, we're recording this on Saturday afternoon of opening weekend, and it's looking at a $77.1 million opening.
Wow.
So it's the record, nearly a record for a non-franchise, non-sequel, second only to Oppenheimer.
That is amazing. I wonder
Right?
what it is. I mean, did that many people read the book? Is it just it looks different and optimistic and upbeat right now? I wonder what's bringing out so many people.
Well, I think a couple points. Number one, Ryan Gosling. And you know what? I'm like talking in circles here because you and I were having this discussion a few weeks ago about Star Wars Starfighter, and this is because we got a text from our friend Pervez, who was like, I think Ryan Gosling is a draw that you guys aren't talking about for Star Wars Starfighter, and you and I were both like, yeah, but is he like a butts and seats guy?
Mm-hmm. As fans, we are fans of his.
As fans of Ryan Gosling, and I acknowledging that generally he makes good movies, but I mean, when it's left to him to sell it, Fall Guy being Exhibit A,
mm-hmm.
right? But I think this is an example of here's an actor who people generally know picks good stuff, plus I was going to say IP. It's not an IP, but it's from the Martian guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And The Martian is a pretty well-regarded movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like cast plus concept.
Yeah. It's just all the right ingredients.
So I would say this opening weekend makes me say the prospects for Starfighter are a lot better, in my opinion, now than they were, say, 6 weeks ago.
I'd agree. I think Parvez had a point for sure. I do think he is a draw. I don't know how big of a draw, but I do think he is a draw, of course. But I think this is only going to make things even better for them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But definitely that, right? Like Ryan Gosling tends to pick interesting stuff. I think the marketing has been very good. They've been very clever about how they've really kept the character Rocky
mm-hmm.
Out of the marketing.
Yeah, they acknowledge he's there. I know for people who read the book, when they had the trailer and they showed that he exists, it was like, no, don't spoil that. That's like half the fun discovering him. But I mean, you have to, right? I mean, you got to sell the movie.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. They don't really show a lot of him in the marketing or the trailers.
And to the interstellar of it all, I mean, there is definitely an interstellar vibe to the trailers
mm-hmm.
and to the film itself, I would say. And again, there's a movie that's generally very well regarded.
Mm-hmm.
So The Martian plus Interstellar plus E.T. I mean, plus Ryan Gosling. I certainly don't think Lord and Miller are known names outside of like the film buff crowd.
Yeah, probably not.
But I do think that after this film, they've launched themselves onto a whole different level in terms of the type of thing we can expect from them.
Man, what an interesting case they are, huh? You know what I mean?
To go from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, and not just that, but Cloudy,
in between, but
but even like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs to this, I can sort of wrap my head around because this does feel like a family film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they went off and made these like
the Jump Street movies,
improv comedies, basically, like 21 Jump Street. Yeah, exactly. and then getting fired off of Solo,
mm-hmm.
which everybody seemed to be like they didn't get dinged, at least from fans, for that. You know, it was more like their loss, to
mm-hmm. Which, I will say this when it comes to the Solo of it all, I'm kind of curious what that movie would have looked like, but I think that was I still think that was probably the right call.
Yeah, no, I completely understand it. I think I'm just going to repeat what you said. I think they would have made an interesting film, an interesting version of that, but it might not have been the right one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then of course, the Spider-Verse films. Which
yes. Again, which is so they're so fascinating. And then when they made this,
yeah,
I love this book so much that I was a little nervous because I didn't want it to feel kind of like that scrappy, improv-y sort of thing.
That Paul Feig / Judd Apatow riffing style.
Yeah, which I do. I love the Jump Street movies.
Sure.
But
those are the Jump Street movies.
Exactly. But I gotta say, I think they nailed it. I really think they were the right people for the job.
I think they're going to be getting a whole different kind of offers after this.
Yep.
You know? I think the word of mouth on this is going to be very good because, I just think it's going to be a movie people go back to. It's going to get those rewatches. I mean, it pulls the strings in the best ways.
Mm-hmm.
What a performance by Ryan Gosling. He is so good in this. My gosh.
He carries the whole movie practically, right? He's in every scene, and most of the time it's either himself or him and a puppet,
Yeah.
Who doesn't, the puppet doesn't speak English, right? So, yeah. It's funny. I'll just say that I really enjoyed it. It's been kind of a journey for me just with my crazy week, getting to see this and who I was going to see it with and when I was going to see it and everything. And it was kind of a lot, because you're watching it and you're thinking about the book and you're, like your mind is a little more active, and I very much enjoyed it, but I was like, oh, that's like the thing. Oh, this is coming up. And I'm going to see it again next weekend with my brother.
Oh, nice.
And he read the book off of my recommendation. And so
I'm
really looking forward to now knowing what it is and knowing that they did a great interpretation of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again and enjoying it probably more just as a movie on its own, and then getting to talk about it with Dan also, comparing notes. But yeah, I will say, and if I'm being completely honest, at the beginning, Gosling was joking so much that I was starting to get like a little bit of a feeling where anytime he would open his mouth, I would worry it was going to be a joke. And I did want some of the things to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? But I feel like the movie began that way, almost as a way to bring you in and endear you to him.
Kind of disarm you a little bit, yeah.
Disarm you, exactly. And then I feel like it settles into a nice place with all of that. And then as things escalate and get more dramatic toward the end, I was very thankful that they didn't try to undercut every serious moment with a joke.
Right.
And Gosling is just so good at that type of humor, that undercutting kind of humor.
Yeah.
I remember, I was aware of him from many things, but it was The Nice Guys.
Yep.
The Shane Black movie, him and Russell Crowe, where I was like, oh, he's a great comedian.
Yeah.
And he's basically been doing that ever since.
Yeah, I mean, with I look forward to whenever he hosts SNL.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and his most recent one, which you had brought up, was hilarious. And it's he is one of the worst people at keeping a straight face, and he's not mugging, he just can't keep a straight face. And there was that one sketch where he kept clinking the champagne flute to make the
that's hilarious
bride and groom kiss, and he actually snorts because he can't not laugh at what's happening. And it's just, it makes it 10 times. It was already funny, but it makes it so much funnier, and it's funny watching him enjoy it, right? So yeah.
Well, to me, the monologue portion, which the conceit is that Harry Styles is in the audience and Ryan Gosling feels inadequate with Harry Styles in the audience. I just found that concept very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just, this movie is a lot of things, right? It's an end of the world movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reluctant hero movie. It's a comedy. It's a buddy movie.
It's a bromance.
It's a, it's, the book is a bit more of a process story than I feel like the movie is.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I just, every component of this movie, he literally hums the 5 tones from Close Encounters. I was like, am I supposed to not like this?
At that point, literally that part of the movie, dun, 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 and then dun, 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 I was like, somewhere the short hairs on Brian's neck are standing up.
Dude, I was somewhere between teary-eyed and happy chuckling,
I was picturing you going, huh? As you lean forward in your seat.
Yeah. But we'll get into the spoilery stuff, of course. But like, I just have to. I can't say.
Real quick, just
Yeah.
before you launch, and I just while we're talking about Close Encounters, I think that right there, and we sort of talked around it or past it. There is an essential Spielberginess to this movie,
Definitely,
which is why I found it so goddamn endearing.
Yeah. Perfect word, endearing.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, well, actually, that was kind of what I was going to say. I was really happy with the tone this movie pulled off. I mean, it's just, I found myself going back and forth between having like a perma smile on my face and kind of a lump in my throat.
Yeah.
Like a bit of the gravity on Earth, of course, with what, not literal gravity, like the weight of the end of the world thing. There's a little bit of that. They don't get too much into it. And the book doesn't either. It's really kind of sticks with Mark and the scientists and everything. But what I've said this before, I don't know what it is. It's an immediate button for me to start crying when I see people working together. And like right at the very beginning, Mark Watney, I was going to say, what's his name? Ryland Grace, I think.
Grace, yeah.
Excuse me. He's brought in to figure this thing out, but he brings people in. He wants everybody's advice. There's no bad ideas. And seeing him, again, I don't want to get into the specifics. We'll get into the specifics. But just the way that he makes everyone included, and when things work together and everyone's ideas solve something and they all celebrate together, there's just a lot of that going on, like in this movie at the beginning with the humans, and then, of course, with him and Rocky. And that is just a real sweet spot for me, where it's like an activator. Like that puts a lump immediately in my throat, just like a happy lump in my throat, where I just want to cry out of happiness of just, like just seeing people getting along and working together and succeeding together. It's just,
in this day and age, that's the most science fiction part of the movie.
I know, right? And like, that's why we go to the movies, to see those things and to be inspired. And like, I think that is like one of the biggest compliments I can give this movie is, that's what I get out of the book also. And I feel like this movie accurately conjured that spirit and that feeling and that joy and something's going wrong, but damn it, we're going to figure it out together kind of feeling. And that was just I just loved it. I loved it. I can't think of a ton of movies like that. And I think, and I did love, I mentioned it earlier about this feeling like a family film. And I don't mean that in like any sort of, it's lacking this, or it's more of this than that, or whatever. Like, it's just like it's just a movie literally for everybody. Right. I really feel like a 10-year-old could enjoy this, and I feel like an 80-year-old could enjoy this.
Yeah.
And that, again, is just like a really rare sort of film. And those are the movies. And I can
speak to that a little, because I took my 9-year-old and I had my 19-year-old with me.
Yeah.
So there's the range,
Tell me more about that. What about, I'm going on and on here, but about your experience and your kids and the conversations you had on the way home.
Well, as I said, for me, I had hoped to read the book going in. When that didn't happen, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to experience it as is. So, I mean, the part of the fun of it for me was genuinely not knowing what's going to happen. And, I do try to do movie math a little bit. And I will say this movie went in a lot of directions that surprised me in good ways. As we were walking out, I would say of the 4 kids I had with me, three really liked it. One just thought it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the spectrum.
Sure.
But I as I said, Mikhail, my second, he's the one who read the book, and he was very happy with how closely it evoked the book.
Yeah, I mean, that we've already said, how often does that happen? Not very. But
yeah,
for a book that is so beloved, it is really amazing to like get to go actually watch a visual representation of that thing you loved. And this is one of those rare cases.
Yeah, I think that without getting into spoilers, but we mentioned, the character Rocky, who's this alien that Grace encounters, and I was thinking about how I was just imagining the studio notes to try to anthropomorphize him.
Totally.
And I was very grateful that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
uh, because it allows the audience to go on even more of a journey to really embrace that character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I what a fantastic relationship. You know, it's up there with Tom Hanks and Wilson. You know,
I think so. It's funny because I feel like if I say certain things, they aren't spoilers because of the book and everything. But it's like no. For people who are going in cold, I don't want to ruin specific moments. But I agree that they form a palpable connection that was really
and you know, speaking of Interstellar, it's a little bit like Cooper and Tars. You know?
totally
Right, yeah, similar vibe. You know,
yeah. Which a nice change that they did for the movie is there isn't a translator in the book.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
And you don't need it. You know, it just writes out what he's saying, and Grace kind of learns his language.
Okay.
So having the voice, you need it in a movie, but having that voice translator, and I thought the voice was very funny. You know?
Yeah. So the voice actor who performed Rocky is also the puppeteer, John Ortiz.
Oh, that makes sense. That's good.
And yeah, there is. I mean, it's tricky. It's very funny because we have, this is not a spoiler either, but there's a sequence where Grace is trying to find the right voice, and he runs through sort of a litany.
Yeah,
and like even before we hear the final voice, and I'm like, well, obviously that's the one. And then he's like, yeah, that sounds good. I was like,
yeah.
There's just something about it, you know.
Yeah, it just feels right.
Yeah. So yeah, big thumbs up. But here on the non-spoiler side, did we want to get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Spoilers.
Well, I thought that was very funny. The Meryl Streep voice.
Yes, yeah.
I was funny in credits.
He's doing all kinds of voice cameos lately.
I know. Oh yeah, that's right. Hoppers,
yeah.
It was funny in the credits. It says rejected Rocky voices.
Yes,
and it's like these three names and then Meryl Streep.
I saw that.
That was very funny. That's like one of those jokes you come up with, and you're like, I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but wouldn't that be funny? You know, right. And worked out.
Yeah. So Sandra Hüller as
yes.
Oh shoot, what's the character's name?
Ava.
Yes, that's right. It was very interesting just seeing, you know, the way that character is presented through the various flashbacks as sort of like she's Grace's conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I think you sort of assume that just through the power of her personality, she's subtly nudging him towards taking on the mission. And then of course we get the swerve where he's like, no, I don't want to go.
Yes.
And she's like, okay, in that case, we're going to knock you out and put you in a coma.
Yeah. Which I remember in the book was like a big twist because he wakes up not remembering anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this big twist where it's like, oh, he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I thought they handled all that really well.
By the way, the Russian astronaut,
yes,
is played by Milena Vaintrub,
right?
Who is from like the Verizon commercials, right?
That's right, or AT&T, or
one of those cellular commercials.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was like, is that?
Uh-huh.
And indeed it was. But so here was my question, because the movie doesn't clarify. When Grace wakes up,
mm-hmm.
She and the captain Yao, they are both dead.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there?
Oh boy, I read this a year ago.
Okay. Is it just like a Planet of the Apes situation where
that's my memory?
Mm-hmm. The dead lady in Planet of the Apes, where it's just like she was hibernating and
yeah. There could be book readers right now yelling at me like,
okay,
that's not it at all. But I don't remember. I just remember that he never really got to interact with them
because they don't explain that a ton. But I thought the scene when he, you know, says goodbye to them and sort of launches their remains out the airlock, I found it very poignant.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job of him kind of going through their things and looking at pictures and learning a little bit about them, and that before sending them out, you know, it makes them not feel like corpses.
Exactly.
You know, because we haven't really seen them much up until that point. We do get some flashbacks with them later, but
right.
Yeah. It's humanity is really important to this story.
Right.
Saving humanity working together to save itself,
Yeah.
And I thought they did a really good job of that. And then also, I mean, it doesn't even just have to be humanity. I mean, Grace and Rocky, just fighting for life,
Yeah.
And he's got his own traumas he's gone through where he's out there with his fellow people and he's the only survivor because they don't, they're very smart in their own ways, but they don't know the same things that we know and they don't understand radiation like we do. And he lost everybody and he's the lone survivor. And so he's fighting for his own planet. And so it's something you said earlier made me think this, which is it's really nice seeing these two unlikely people. And one of them literally is a rock monster that doesn't have a face, but we really believe their bond and their desire to fix this problem. And when they go through all these trials together, there's that moment where Grace hugs him through that plastic ball, or well, it's not plastic, but the protective ball.
Yeah.
And I was like, just literally, it looks like he's hugging a rock, and my heart, because of what it means.
Yeah.
I just thought it really nailed that connection.
Yeah.
And that's what's so a great journey for Grace is that he just right up to the last minute, he had to be drugged, put into a coma to go up there. He didn't want to go up there so badly.
Yeah.
But he's the guy to do it. And he, of course, ultimately is glad that he did. And when there's a hiccup at the end, he's willing to give up his ticket home to go save his new best friend.
Right.
Because he knows that if he doesn't go help him, he's doomed. And so, it just, it ignited something inside of him that was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It needed to be ignited.
Well, because Ava at one point, she's like, excuse me, he's like, I'm supposed to be in a classroom, whatever. And she's like, stop using your students as an excuse. Right. And that sense of like fear makes you selfish. And that's why he doesn't want to go. Right. And by sort of being forced into this situation, he learns the ultimate selflessness,
Right.
And the ultimate reward on the other side of that is he can go home. He saved his friend and he can go home. But what I loved is he's on Erid and Rocky's like, your ship, like we're ready to send you home. And he's like, can I think about it? And Rocky says, think about it a long time. Like, I don't want you to go.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah. I got to say that was a change from the book.
Interesting.
Where he's unable to go home.
See, I like that he has that option, because to me, that's the reward. He did the selfless thing with no expectation of ever being able to go back, and yet he will be able to go back anyway.
I agree. I think it's the perfect ending. And this is the thing I'm trying to remember, and we got right on mic, but my memory was, we see in the movie that Grace is in this kind of dome that's been built for him to recreate Earth.
That's right.
And I remember in the book it describing Rocky's planet, and they do create like an environment for him that's safe, but I don't remember it being as expansive and bright and sunlit. Like it was like he was kind of stuck on this planet that has no light because they don't have eyes. They don't need light.
Oh, interesting.
And he's still a teacher. That's the happy ending, is that he gets to continue to teach. And he has new pupils and he can teach them new things that they don't know. But I remember my brother and I being like, that's great. But like, it feels a little like, oh man, he's stuck on this like dark planet, no chance to go home. And it felt a little like slightly twinged unease.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was very curious what they would do in the movie. And I thought this was perfect. I think the visual is a lot more welcoming to humans. I think, like a beach and sun and water and waves and everything. And then I agree with you. I like the idea that he can go home. He can, but he's in no hurry.
Right.
Very sweet.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah, agreed.
Other things that jumped out at you?
I gotta say, I'm amazed how much looked exactly the way I imagined it.
That was like me with The Martian.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of like, the canisters that get thrown over by Rocky. I mean, they looked exactly like I pictured them in my mind. And I mean, obviously Weir's a great writer. And so he probably described them well and they just recreated them. But that was very, satisfying, kind of giddy as a fan to see that stuff. And then all the little sculptures that Rocky was making him were just how I imagined them. And it was really cool seeing all that stuff. And, yeah, I don't know. The tunnel, and that thing that they can sort of see each other. Just the whole journey of it. It's just exactly the way I remembered it, and I felt the same feelings all over again. The discovery, the excitement, and then Rocky making his little ball so he can come over and hang out on a ship.
Yeah,
and they can work together. And the fact that he wants to. I wondered if, I don't know why, but I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll cut the whole thing that Rocky likes to watch him sleep. But they kept that.
Yeah.
And it is funny because it does begin creepy, but then it's a very sweet thing. And then when Rocky is injured, and Grace is like, I'll watch you sleep, bud. Like, I'll watch you this time.
That whole scene when first of all, when Rocky breaks out of his shell to help Grace, and you see like the black smoke coming out of his body.
Yeah.
And then when Grace wakes up and we're sort of walking with him, and I guess, I mean, if you've read the book, it's different, but if you haven't, you're like, what state is he going to find Rocky in?
He's like seeing the aftermath, like char on the ground. And we don't know how he's going to find Rocky, but that Rocky like sacrificed, like seeing him punch through that bubble to go save him was like, yeah, really.
It's funny because maybe just because of the Rocky and Adrian of it all. It reminded me of in Rocky 2 where Adrian goes into a coma after she gives birth. And Rocky is sitting next to her and he's like, I'll just be right here. I'll be waiting for you when you wake up. They reminded me of that.
I love that. And they actually do watch the Rocky series.
I know.
That was kind of fun. He shows Rocky the Rocky movies.
This was his mate. Well, it's Adrian, of course.
Yeah. And then I thought of you, actually, that joke where he had the big plastic glass thing and he's like, hey, I'm like the villain from Superman 2.
Yep. I was dying. My kids were laughing, which made me happy.
Yeah.
Just I'm very happy to see a film like this. Just, I mean, at least based on initial box office, really, it seems like there is an audience that's hungry for something like this. And it's not a pre-sold concept, and it's just right out the chute, people showing up for it. Makes me happy.
Me too. Just, I don't know. I feel like we could use this right now. I mean, something positive, optimistic, and hopefully inspiring.
Yeah.
Like helping your fellow man, kind of a vibe, and put that, in your heart a little bit. I don't know. I feel like
what a concept.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this is what I'm looking forward to watching again, not thinking about the book as much, but just as a movie. But all that stuff at the end, was really, it's funny. They do a great job of compressing things, of course, fit into a 2.5 hour movie, but just the whole farming the Taumiba stuff in the book was like, it's, obviously it takes a long time. And he has to breed all these different generations. But then that, of course, that's when they get used to the idea of being able to, they evolve to figure out how to get through that, material that Rocky uses to use. And that was such like a shock in the book. And for me, I was like, oh, it goes so quickly in the movie, just
interesting
from what I'm used to. And I was like, I wonder if that's like super clear for everybody that it ate up his engines and all that stuff. But I probably,
I remember in The Martian, how the lead up to the HAB depressurizing was like very methodical, where it's like you see it coming, like it's very drawn out. But in the movie, it's just one time he just goes and
right.
And it's similar to what you're describing here, where it's just like sometimes cinema has a different methodology, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what else I liked? In they show it, which was fun, but those, I don't even call them probes or whatever they are. Those the John Paul George Ringo devices where he puts all the work and logs and everything and sends them to Earth. Basically, in the book, he does that, and we're like, well, Godspeed. you know, like we don't know.
So in the movie, when we see them being received,
it just made me so happy.
Me too, right?
So happy seeing.
So that's not in the book.
No.
Okay.
And seeing Eva older.
Yes,
that's the thing, right? Like a lot of time, like we spend time with Grace, and we're experiencing his time. But on Earth, they're just like probably praying every day. Like, I hope something didn't go wrong today. For years.
What is the passage of time?
I don't recall. I remember there was the
they said it's like
years.
11.
Well,
they said 30 years is the like
how long till
the sun?
The sun, yeah.
But I think it says like 11 light years to Tau Ceti.
Yeah.
So we can presume it's been somewhere in the vicinity of that, like between 11 and 15 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But it was very satisfying seeing her watch the logs, because I was thinking that too when I was reading the book. I mean, he made contact.
Yeah.
First contact with this alien, and they're working together like to save the galaxy. And I wondered how Earth would receive that.
Right.
And so it was very satisfying for me to see that character, Ava, actually watch the logs and get to see Rocky like waving at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad they added that.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect coda for that part of the story. I do think you kind of needed that.
Totally.
Any other thoughts?
No, just still I'll probably be processing it for a while, but just very happy that I think it's a great adaptation. I think it's a great movie on its own, and we've said it a couple times, but I'm just happy that something so nice and with its heart in a good place looks like it's going to succeed.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And anything you? I feel like I did a lot of the talking, but I want to hear everything you thought.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I think it hits all the right. I was going to say grace notes, a pun unintended, but that is true. You know, I mean, I think that it's a very straightforward movie of its type, and you know, I that's gratifying. It feels like a throwback.
Totally.
In the best way, but told through a modern lens, and I think earnestness is a good look for Lord and Miller.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind more of that, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I remember I said when I watched Song Sung Blue, which just kind of came and went, unfortunately, even though Kate Hudson was nominated for Best Actress. But great movie, by the way. I do recommend that movie.
Which the funniest thing about that is I saw somebody online say it's a stealth Final Destination movie. And ever since then, I can't stop. Like, to me, I have to view it through that lens now.
I mean, for anyone who's seen it, that is brilliant. Like, just brilliant. You sent me that. I was dying. But when I watched that movie, it's based on a true story, but it just starts so earnest that, like, I don't know, like the way that I've been sort of conditioned over the years with, you know, we talk about like a lot of, anytime something gets earnest or serious or whatever, it feels like these days it needs to be undercut immediately with a joke.
We like in this movie, we don't get, and you're a rock. I'm sitting here talking to a rock.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Seriously. Thank God. Like that would have driven me nuts. And, but what I'm saying is, like with Song Sung Blue, it is so earnest that I was like, is this corny? Like, is this movie bad? Like for the first 20 minutes, I was like, is this like a kind of like a made for TV Disney movie almost, like kind of feeling? And I was like, no, it's just nice.
Yeah.
Like, and that's okay. It just, I haven't seen a movie that earnest and nice in a while. And once I got on its wavelength, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of sadness in it too, I should say, for anyone who's like, oh, Brian just said there's a happy movie I can rent tonight. But it's very good. It's very earnest. It's very sweet. And loved it almost especially for that reason. And I agree with you. I love this movie also for the same reasons. Earnestness is a good look right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let us know your thoughts about Project Hail Mary. We'd love to hear them. We'll read them on the show. You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. If you're listening to this show on YouTube, please hit like, hit subscribe, and leave comments there because we do read those on the show. And as always, if you like what we're doing, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, leave a star rating, and leave a rating everywhere you listen to this show. Doesn't have to be just there. But all of that is good stuff. Hey, speaking of liking what we do, we also have a Patreon page, Brian.
Yeah, if you head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe for only $5 a month, you'll find every commentary we've ever done and every episode moving forward from here, absolutely ad-free. Our free feed will always be available, but this is our way of providing what we believe is the most satisfying way to enjoy the show, which is without ads or interruptions butting into the conversation. And we also have bonus conversations that are dropping over there about twice a month, like the one we mentioned earlier, where we talk about the passing of Chuck Norris and the Oscars. Plus, your subscription goes a long way in helping to support us and helping to sustain producing the show. So if you're interested in Abel, please head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and subscribe. We'd be very grateful.
And hey, if you're looking for us online, you can find us on social media, or you can find me on social media. Brian is the smart one who's not on social media. Smarter than I. However, I am at Zacky's Corner. That's ZAKIS Corner. You can also find my reviews at the San Francisco Chronicle and also at IGN and The Wrap. What about you, Brian?
You can find episodes I've written of Puppy Dog Pals and Young Jedi Adventures streaming over on Disney+.
And with that, on behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 340. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.